Subscribe to my YouTube channel, share it with your friends, and comment your thoughts. The moment Nora pushed open the boutique's glass door, she knew she didn't belong. It wasn't just the scent, an expensive mixture of vanilla and something floral, it was the silence. That kind of thick, heavy quiet where every soft step of your shoes feels like thunder. The boutique was white and silver, polished marble floors gleaming like mirrors, racks of designer clothes spaced out like pieces of art in a gallery. A chandelier above dripped crystals like frozen rain, reflecting the glow of soft golden lights. Everything whispered luxury. Everything screamed not for you. Still, she stepped inside. Her boots were clean but worn. Her coat was faded at the cuffs. Her hair was tidy, tied in a bun she'd done in a rearview mirror. And her eyes, they held something that the boutique hadn't seen in a while, wonder. She wasn't there to buy. Of course not. Not with what she earned at the diner. But today was different. Today was supposed to be hers. The woman at the front counter looked up. She didn't smile. "Good afternoon," Nora said softly, not wanting to disturb the icy calm of the room. The woman raised an eyebrow, then returned her attention to her tablet. Nora took that as permission to browse. She moved slowly, almost reverently, through the store. Fingertips lightly grazing soft silk sleeves, the edge of a blazer, the sequined curve of a gown she could never imagine wearing. Not because she didn't want to, but because some dreams were too far away. But today, she let herself dream. That's when it happened. She'd reached for a cream-colored dress on a golden hanger. Simple but elegant, with delicate stitching near the waist. She wasn't even going to try it on. Just touch it. Imagine. But before her fingers met fabric, a voice sliced through the air. "Ma'am," the security guard said, stepping closer. "This isn't your kind of store." The words stopped her mid-breath. For a second, she thought she misheard. But when she turned, the guard wasn't smiling. He wasn't joking. I'm just looking," she managed, her voice barely a whisper. Behind the front desk, the woman in black chimed in without even lifting her head, "We don't allow window shoppers to touch the collection." "Thank you." There was no policy like that printed anywhere. But this wasn't about policy. It was about her. Nora froze. Her hand hovered mid-air for a moment longer before she pulled it back slowly, fingers shaking slightly. Around her, two other customers, a mother and daughter duo, stared openly, their eyes scanning her up and down like she was something misplaced, like a fly in their glass of champagne. One of them whispered something. The other giggled behind a perfectly manicured hand. Nora didn't say a word. Not because she didn't have something to say, but because her chest felt too tight to speak. Her pride was already slipping through the cracks in her heart. She turned, nodded once without looking back, and walked out of the store. Outside, the cold air slapped her cheeks pink. She crossed her arms, pulling her coat tighter around her, walking briskly toward the end of the plaza. She found a stone bench beneath a barren tree and sat down. Her breath fogged in the winter air. She stared at her hands for a while, small, strong, the same ones that washed dishes, packed lunchboxes, held bills she couldn't pay. She hadn't asked for much. Just 5 minutes to pretend. But even that was too much, apparently. She closed her eyes and leaned back. It wasn't just the boutique. It was years of being invisible. People seeing her uniform, her quiet eyes, her second-hand shoes and assuming they knew her story. They didn't. They didn't know about the nights she cried in silence. The days she worked double shifts and still smiled at rude customers. They didn't know that she'd once had a different life. One with music and books and hope. And they didn't know who she used to be before everything fell apart. She stayed there for nearly an hour, watching the world pass by. A little boy ran after a pigeon. A couple argued near a parked car. A man with a coffee held the door open for a stranger. Life moved on, and no one noticed her. Until they did. It started with a whisper, someone saying, "Is that?" followed by hurried footsteps and rustling bags. Nora looked up. She saw the boutique clerk step outside, phone in hand, staring at the road with wide eyes. The sound came next, a low, rumbling growl that didn't belong in this quiet shopping district. Heads turned. Eyes squinted toward the street's end. That's when it appeared. A black SUV, massive, matte, and monstrous in presence, rolled down the cobbled lane like a shadow made real. It didn't roar, it purred with quiet power, like a predator in control. It stopped right in front of the boutique. Not near it, in front of it. The windows were tinted jet black. The rims glinted like obsidian. The driver stepped out. Dark suit. Clean cut. Expressionless. He walked around to the back door, opened it, and stood aside. And then, him. He stepped out like the air bent around him. Tall, dark hair with flecks of silver, jaw tight, wearing a coat that probably cost more than Nora's rent. His presence sucked the sound out of the air. Even the boutique employees froze. He didn't look at them. He looked straight at Nora. She stood slowly. Her legs were unsure, not because she was afraid, but because this moment felt like something out of a film. She hadn't seen him in months. His eyes, still the same. Intense. Focused. Searching her face for something only the two of them knew. He walked toward her. One step. Then another. Then he stopped, just a breath away. "You okay?" he asked softly. Nora didn't trust her voice. She simply nodded. He turned toward the boutique. The clerk and the security guard were frozen like statues. He didn't say a word to them. His silence was enough. Then he turned back to her, offered his arm, and asked, "Are you ready?" Nora hesitated for just a second. Then, with a calm that surprised even her, she slipped her hand into the crook of his elbow. They walked toward the SUV. He opened the door for her himself. She climbed in. The door shut. The SUV pulled away. Silence settled on the plaza like snowfall. But something had shifted. The women inside the boutique, the whispering customers, they'd seen enough to know. They hadn't just embarrassed a poor woman today. They'd embarrassed the wrong woman. And they had no idea what storm was coming. The air inside the SUV was different. Silent, but not cold. Calm, yet filled with questions that hung heavy between them like invisible fog. Nora sat quietly, her fingers resting on her lap, her posture straight but stiff. The seat was softer than anything she'd sat on in years. Leather, real. Not the fake kind she'd cleaned at restaurants or admired in car ads. This was different. So was he. The man beside her sat with perfect stillness. One hand on his knee, the other resting gently on the door handle. He hadn't said much, not yet. But Nora could feel his energy. Focused. Sharp. Watching her without fully turning his head. "How long were you in there?" he finally asked, his voice low and smooth. Nora hesitated. 10 minutes. Maybe less. He nodded slowly, his jaw tightening. "They spoke to you like that in 10 minutes?" She didn't respond. She didn't need to. The hurt in her silence was louder than any answer. For a while, they just drove. The city slipped by outside, the boutique street replaced by wide roads, bridges, tall buildings with mirrored glass, and eventually, quiet neighborhoods with trees just beginning to bloom. The SUV glided through all of it, its presence commanding even in motion. Nora turned her gaze to the window. She hadn't expected to see him again. Not like this. Not after everything. "Why did you come?" she asked suddenly, surprising even herself. He didn't look at her. Because you needed me. She exhaled softly, shaking her head. You don't know that. I do, he said. I know you better than anyone. That part was true. Or had been, once. They had history. A long, complicated one. Years ago, when life was different and she still believed in fairy tales, she had met Adam Hayes at a bookshop. He wasn't a billionaire then, just a sharp-minded entrepreneur with kind eyes and a soft spot for worn novels. She was fresh out of college, working 2 jobs, chasing dreams with more passion than planning. They'd fallen fast. Fast and hard. And for a while, everything was golden. But life got in the way. Or maybe it was the gap between their worlds. He rose, business after business, fame, fortune, and a new kind of spotlight. She stayed grounded, unsure how to keep up, never wanting to be a kept woman or a shadow to his success. Pride. Miscommunication. Silence. Eventually, they drifted apart. No big fight. No betrayal. Just a slow, aching distance that swallowed the love between them. That was 5 years ago. Now here they were. Back in a car together, the silence just as familiar as the day they said goodbye. Where are we going? Nora asked, her voice softer now. He smiled faintly, eyes still forward. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere I can show you something. She raised an eyebrow. Not to impress me, I hope. He finally turned his head. His eyes met hers. Serious. Warm. No, he said. To remind you. The SUV turned down a long, winding road bordered by tall trees and low stone walls. At the end of the lane stood a house, not enormous, not flashy, but elegant. Timeless. Ivy climbed one side. The windows were tall and arched. There was a wraparound porch with 2 rocking chairs and a single copper lantern swinging gently in the wind. Nora blinked. She knew this place. This was your uncle's cabin, she said slowly. The one in the hills. Adam nodded. I bought it. Fixed it up. It's been mine for years. She turned to him. Why bring me here? He didn't answer directly. He stepped out, walked around to her side, and opened the door. She hesitated, then took his hand and stepped out. The air was cleaner here. Fresh pine and earth. Birds chirping, a faint stream in the distance. I want you to come inside, he said. There's something I need you to see. The interior of the cabin was stunning, warm wood walls, shelves filled with books, a fireplace with a gentle crackling flame already lit. But what caught her eye was the back wall. Covered in photographs. Dozens of them. Maybe more. All of her. She gasped, stepping closer. There she was, smiling in a sunflower field, laughing on a beach, holding a coffee cup while reading, sleeping on a couch with a book still open in her lap. Some she remembered. Some must have been taken from afar, at moments when she hadn't even known he was near. She turned to him slowly, unsure what to say. You think I walked away, Adam said quietly, stepping beside her. But I never really did. She shook her head, confused, emotional. Why didn't you say something all these years? He shrugged. Pride. Timing. Stupidity. I didn't want to interfere in your life unless I had to. Unless, he paused, voice lowering, someone made you feel less than what you are. Nora looked back at the wall. At her life through his eyes. Beautiful. Strong. Unfiltered. I've been following your journey. Quietly. Respectfully, he continued. I know about the double shifts. The volunteer work. The rent issues. The way you take care of that old lady next door even though she pretends to hate you. Nora laughed. A wet, choked kind of laugh. Mrs. Finch. He smiled. Yeah. She turned to him. Why me, Adam? All these years, all these choices. You could have had anyone. I didn't want anyone, he said. I wanted real. And I already had that once. There was silence. Then, softly, he added, and today, when I heard what happened at that store, I lost it. No one gets to humiliate you and walk away. Nora swallowed hard, emotion rising like a tide. What do you want from me? She asked, not accusing, just lost. He stepped closer, eyes searching hers. Nothing, he said. Except to remind you of your worth. And to show you that you're not invisible. Not to me. Not ever. Tears burned behind her eyes. She looked away. Outside, the wind picked up. The trees swayed. The sun dipped lower, bathing the cabin in golden light. Then came the knock. A sharp rap at the door. Adam stiffened. His eyes flicked toward the entrance. He wasn't expecting anyone. He moved to the door cautiously and opened it just enough to peek out. Nora watched his face change, his jaw clenched, eyes narrowed. Who is it? She asked. Adam stepped out and closed the door behind him. Nora rushed to the window. She saw two men in suits. One handed Adam a folder. The other looked around nervously. She couldn't hear them, but she could read Adam's lips as he said a single word. Now? The man nodded. Adam ran a hand down his face. Then looked back toward the window, where Nora stood watching. He walked back inside a moment later, closing the door softly behind him. What's going on? Nora asked, concern replacing calm. He looked at her. Something was wrong. His voice was even, but his eyes weren't. There's something I didn't tell you, he said slowly. Something I didn't expect to involve you in. Nora's heart began to race. Involve me in what, Adam? He took a breath. There's a reason I've been keeping a low profile lately. A reason I disappeared from the public for a while. Nora waited. Adam continued. 2 years ago, I found something. In one of my companies. Hidden. Buried deep. Something illegal. Dangerous. I couldn't ignore it. She frowned. What kind of something? He hesitated. Human trafficking. Through shell charities. Fake funds. I shut it down. Reported everything. But the people behind it? They didn't forget. They've been watching. Nora's blood ran cold. What does this have to do with me? His next words changed everything. They think you're the only leverage they have. Nora's hands trembled. The cabin, which only moments ago felt like a sanctuary, now felt smaller. The walls seemed to close in. Her breath caught in her throat as she tried to process what Adam had just said. Leverage, she echoed, eyes wide. Me? Adam walked to the fireplace and poked at the embers, like he needed something to focus on, something other than her stunned expression. They're not amateurs, he said quietly. They knew the moment I filed the first report that someone on the inside had turned. They just didn't know who. He stood up, facing her. But last year, someone leaked my name. And that changed everything. Nora backed up a step. And now they're after me? Adam's eyes didn't waver. Not yet. But they will be. You're my weakest link, Nora. That's a horrible thing to say. I mean it in the way they think. You're not protected like I am. You don't have bodyguards or bulletproof cars or security clearance. You're accessible. That makes you a target. She turned, pacing the wooden floorboards. So all of this, bringing me here, the SUV, the sudden reappearance, this wasn't just about the boutique. No, Adam said. That was real. The moment I saw the footage of how they treated you, I lost it. But the timing, he paused, running a hand through his hair. It forced my hand. Nora stopped pacing. What footage? He hesitated. The boutique has internal cameras. A friend of mine in security intercepted the live feed. They shared it with me. Her face flushed. So you watched it? He nodded once. Every second. She sat down on the nearest chair, her legs suddenly too shaky to support her. This is insane, she whispered. I just wanted to try on a dress. And you still can, he said gently. But not today. Not like this. There was a long silence between them. The fire crackled. Outside, the wind had picked up, brushing tree branches against the windows. What happens now? Nora finally asked. Adam sat across from her. He looked different now, less like the polished billionaire she had remembered, and more like a soldier. Someone who had seen the other side of power. Someone carrying secrets that could get people killed. I need to keep you safe, he said. I have a safe house. Remote. Guarded. You'd have everything you need, comfort, connection, protection. Nora shook her head. You want to lock me away? No, he said firmly. I want to protect you. I didn't ask for protection. He stood. You didn't ask for danger either. The tension rose again. Nora stood as well, eyes locked on his. You should have told me sooner, she said. I deserve that. I know, Adam said. And I was wrong. But it's not just you anymore. She frowned. What does that mean? Adam pulled a small envelope from the bookshelf and held it out. Inside were photographs, recent ones. Nora flipping the sign at the bakery. Nora walking home from work. Nora at the farmer's market. Nora at the corner cafe. Her blood froze. These were taken in the last week, he said. By them. She sat back down. She couldn't speak. She felt violated, like someone had ripped away the walls of her life. Every private moment now belonged to strangers. Dangerous strangers. Adam knelt beside her. I'm sorry, he said. More than I can say. I didn't want it to get this far. But I swear on everything, I won't let them touch you. Nora met his eyes. What do they want? Silence, he said. They want me to vanish. To retract everything. To give them space to keep running their operation. And if I don't, they'll try to use you as bait. Nora's lips pressed into a thin line. Then give them what they want. Adam shook his head. I can't. I already gave everything to the federal task force. If I back out now, innocent people stay trapped. And more get hurt. She exhaled. So I'm just a pawn in this? No, he said. You're the one thing they think they can use. But they're wrong. He stood again, walked to a small chest near the fireplace, and opened it. Inside were gadgets she didn't recognize. Satellite phones. Emergency beacons. Files. And a gun. He noticed her gaze freeze on the weapon. It's only for emergencies, he said. I hope we never need it. Her voice was small. Have you used one before? He hesitated, then nodded once. Not by choice. But when you're cornered, you learn fast. The next morning, Nora woke in a soft bed tucked into the upstairs loft of the cabin. She had barely slept. Every creak of the floorboards had kept her on edge. But what truly haunted her wasn't fear. It was memory. Adam's voice. His confession. The photos. The fact that someone, somewhere, had been watching her, and that it had nothing to do with the boutique. She got dressed and made her way downstairs. The smell of coffee greeted her. Strong and grounding. Adam stood at the stove, making scrambled eggs like nothing was wrong. Like this was just another quiet morning between two people who used to be in love. "You sleep at all?" he asked without turning. "Barely," she admitted. He poured her coffee. "We leave in 20 minutes. "Where to?" "The safe house." She accepted the cup. "And then what?" "We wait. Until I can shut this down." The drive was long and quiet. 2 black vehicles this time, one leading, one behind. Tinted windows, armed security, and a satellite drone overhead that Adam kept checking via tablet. Nora had never felt so visible, and so protected, at the same time. Eventually, they arrived at a property deep in the woods, surrounded by steel fencing and camera towers. A sleek, modern cabin sat in the center, designed to blend in with nature. It looked more like a retreat than a fortress. Inside, it was breathtaking. Glass walls. Hardwood floors. Hidden panic rooms. Communication hubs. And files. So many files. Nora walked into the main study and saw everything laid out: names, photographs, maps. Red string connecting cities across the world. "Is all this," she started. Adam nodded. "Yes. Their network." She stared at the wall, horror sinking in. "These are people," she whispered. "They're trafficking people." "Thousands," Adam said. "Mostly women. Kids. They move them through fake shelters, recovery clinics, even aid foundations." Nora turned to him. "Why haven't you gone public?" "I'm trying. But they're powerful. Some are in government. Law enforcement. Media." She looked again at the map, then at Adam. "And you're one man." He nodded. "But I've got truth. And now I've got something more." "What?" He turned, stepping close. "You." Nora blinked. "Me? What can I do?" Adam looked at her with a rare softness. "You're real. You're honest. You have a voice people trust. You could help me tell the story, humanize it. Bring the pain into the light. People respond to truth when it has a face." She hesitated. "You want me to go public?" "Eventually," he said. "Only if you're ready. Only when you're safe. But yes, I need someone who's not afraid to speak." She was quiet a moment, thinking. "I've never been that brave." Adam smiled gently. "You don't have to be fearless. Just real." They stood there, surrounded by evidence of unspeakable horrors, and the quiet resolve to stop it. Nora finally nodded. "Okay. But I want something first." "Anything. Take me back to that boutique." Adam blinked. "What? Why?" She smiled faintly. "Because I left my self-respect in that dressing room. And I'd like to pick it up." He stared at her for a long moment. Then slowly nodded. They returned the next morning. Same boutique. Same marble floors. Same crystal chandelier. But this time, Nora didn't walk in alone. 2 security guards flanked her. Adam walked beside her in a navy suit, calm and unreadable. The woman at the counter, the same one who had humiliated Nora, froze. Her face turned pale. Behind her, the manager came running out, flustered and wide-eyed. "Miss," he stammered. We didn't know." "You didn't care," Adam said coldly. "You judged her on sight." The woman swallowed hard. "Sir, if we had known she was important?" Nora said sharply. "You would have treated me like a human if I had a title?" Silence. She stepped forward. I don't want your apology. I don't want your pity. I came for the dress I liked. The one you said wasn't for people like me. The woman hesitated, then rushed into the back. Nora stood tall. When the dress arrived, she took it in her hands, then turned to the woman. I'll buy it. With cash. No discount. No favors. Just respect. Adam smiled quietly. The store fell silent as she walked out, head high. But just as they stepped onto the street, Adam's phone buzzed. He checked it. His face changed. What is it? Nora asked. He turned the screen to her. A live feed. From inside the safe house. A figure in black, moving through the halls. Unidentified. Armed. Nora's heart dropped. They found it, Adam said. And then, softly. They're not playing anymore. The air felt like it had been sucked out of the street. Nora stared at the phone screen in Adam's hand. The footage was grainy, black and white, but there was no mistaking the movement. Someone was inside the safe house. I thought it was secure, she whispered, her voice trembling. It was, Adam said, already dialing a number. His jaw was tight, his posture rigid. Someone either hacked the system or got help from the inside. He turned his back to her slightly as he spoke into the phone, rapid fire and calm, giving orders, confirming breach points, listing off security protocol codes she didn't understand. It was like watching someone switch into a completely different mode, not a husband, not a billionaire, but a man trained for war. Unit Alpha and Delta, he said. Go silent. Do not engage unless absolutely necessary. Nora's hands clutched her purse so tightly her knuckles turned white. Do they know we're not there? She asked. I don't think so, Adam said. The guards rotated. They'll assume you're inside. This is a warning. They're sending a message. Nora shook her head. A warning? They broke into your secure home with a gun. Exactly. If they wanted us dead, we'd be dead already. They want me to feel it first. To know they can touch what I care about. A silence settled between them. Nora glanced around. The boutique windows reflected the morning sun like nothing had happened. Just a woman with a shopping bag. Just another couple on a city street. But inside, she was spinning. We have to go, Adam said. Now. Where? A place they can't reach. Not easily. He gestured to the guards. One immediately called for the SUV. The other placed a hand lightly on Nora's back to guide her, but she flinched. Adam noticed. I'm sorry, he said. I didn't want this for you. But you knew it could happen. He didn't respond. His silence was louder than any excuse. They drove for hours. First through the city, then the outskirts, then into the wild, dense forest roads where the signal dropped and only the birds seemed to track them. This time, the route was unmarked. The vehicles didn't follow highways, but old military roads Adam had once used during covert operations. You always had this life? Nora asked as trees blurred past her window. Adam kept his eyes on the road. Parts of it. I inherited the business from my father, yes. But I created the intelligence wing myself. I wanted to use our tech to expose global crime, drug cartels, human trafficking rings, deep fraud networks. And did you? I started to. Then I hit a wall. A human wall. People with power, masks, agendas. She looked over at him. And me? Where did I fit in? He glanced her way. You were the only real thing I had. The only person I didn't have to lie to. Until I did. Nora didn't respond. Because deep down, a small part of her still cared for him. And that was what hurt the most. By dusk, they arrived at what looked like an abandoned railway station hidden deep in the woods. The metal gates groaned open as their SUV rolled inside. To Nora's shock, the interior wasn't deserted. It was an underground fortress, steel walls, surveillance screens, bunkers. Dozens of operatives moved like ghosts, quiet, alert, efficient. These weren't ordinary bodyguards. They were trained, lethal, and loyal to Adam. Nora followed him through steel doors and long hallways until they reached a private room. "I know it's not a cabin in the mountains," he said gently. "But it's the safest place I know." She sat on the edge of the bed. "Do you think they'll come here?" Adam sat too, his face serious. "No. This place is invisible. Not even on satellite anymore. But that doesn't mean we're safe forever." He pulled a small laptop from the side table and opened a secured channel. A woman appeared on the screen, military posture, gray streak in her hair, eyes sharp. "Commander Halston," Adam said. "You're late," she replied. "I saw the breach footage. You okay?" "For now." She nodded, then looked at Nora. "So this is the one they think is your weakness?" Nora bristled. Adam interjected. "This is Nora. She's not weak." Halston gave her a small smile. "Didn't say she was. Just said that's how they see it. Which makes her dangerous. And useful." Nora met the woman's eyes. "How do I stop being a target?" Halston leaned forward. "You don't. But you do stop being silent." That night, Nora couldn't sleep. The bunk felt like a coffin, metal, sterile, cold. The air was heavy with quiet threats. She stared at the ceiling, her mind spiraling. What had her life become? One moment she was choosing between two dresses, the next she was hiding from international criminals. She slipped out of bed and wandered the corridors. Screens glowed in the distance, live feeds, map pings, intercepted calls. Her reflection in the glass looked ghostly. Then she heard it, a voice. Not Adam. Not the guards. A child. She followed it, puzzled. Inside one of the back rooms, a young girl was sitting with a woman. They were watching cartoons on a small tablet. Nora stepped in. The woman turned, surprised, then smiled. "Hi. You must be Nora." Nora nodded. "I didn't know there were kids here." "This is Amina," the woman said softly. "We rescued her 3 weeks ago." Nora looked at the girl, no more than 7, wide eyes, curls framing her small face. "From them?" The woman nodded. "She was trafficked through a medical charity. Smuggled in shipping containers. We got lucky. Found her before they moved her again." Nora's heart cracked. She knelt down. "Hi, Amina." The little girl smiled shyly. "Are you one of the helpers?" Nora blinked back tears. "I guess I am." Later, in the main room, Nora found Adam at the screen wall. He turned when she walked in. "There are children," she said softly. "Here. Hiding. Healing." Adam nodded. "Yes. Over 60, between this facility and 2 others." Nora's voice broke. "How is this even real?" "Because evil doesn't look like monsters. It looks like people with purpose. With plans." She stepped closer. "I want to help." Adam looked at her. "You are helping." "No," she said firmly. "I want to do something. Not just run. Not just hide. I want to fight back." He studied her face, as if seeing her for the first time. "I think you already are." The next day, Halston returned with documents. "A plan. If we're going to make a dent, we need to expose them," she said. "But we need a face. A story. A woman who's been touched by their reach, someone relatable, but strong. Nora realized where this was going. You want me to speak? Not just speak, Halston said. You'll do an interview. Anonymous at first. Recorded here. We'll release it through whistleblower networks, then to trusted journalists. And then what? Nora asked. Then we watch them panic, Adam said. The interview was recorded that afternoon. Nora sat in front of a camera, a hooded light hiding her face. A disguised voice filter masked her identity. But her story, her voice, rang clear. She spoke of fear. Of violation. Of being watched. Of feeling powerless. Then she spoke of Amina. Of the children. Of the boutique. Of dignity. Her final words echoed. They thought I'd stay quiet. But I've found my voice now. And I won't be silent again. Within 24 hours, the video went viral. Anonymous accounts shared it. Journalists contacted whistleblower forums. Even news anchors on mainstream channels hinted at a rising wave of exposure about hidden trafficking networks. And then came the retaliation. A signal pinged on Adam's board. A bounty. Posted on the dark web. For Nora's name. $500,000, Adam read aloud. Alive. Nora swallowed. So now it begins. He turned to her. No, he said. Now we begin. It had been 4 days since Nora's hidden interview went public. She had expected to feel fear, or regret, or something close to panic. But instead, she felt resolved. For the first time in weeks, maybe even months, she wasn't just reacting to danger, she was facing it. But the calm didn't last long. Because danger doesn't wait. At 6:42 a.m., alarms blared through the bunker. The sound was low-pitched, continuous, not the sharp cry of an attack, but a warning. A breach attempt. Adam and Commander Halston were already in the control room when Nora arrived, pulling a hoodie over her sleep shirt. What is it? She asked, breathless. Adam didn't look away from the screens. They found the decoy facility. Nora froze. The decoy? Halston nodded grimly. One of our safe houses in Prague. Empty, thank God. But it means they've accelerated. They're hunting, fast. Nora watched as grainy footage rolled across the monitor, masked men with military formation storming a dark building. How did they find it? She asked. Halston answered, we don't know yet. But if they hit Prague, they're not far from the real thing. Adam turned. Which means we can't stay hidden anymore. We need to strike. Nora's stomach flipped. Strike how? He looked at her with something between admiration and worry. By turning their greed against them. That afternoon, a new plan was drafted, one that even Halston called madness in motion. It involved bait. And Nora was the bait. They'd already leaked whispers online that the anonymous woman behind the viral interview was ready to meet a journalist in person, privately, quietly, in a neutral location in Zurich. The plan was to make it look like Nora had grown impatient, gone rogue, and was seeking justice publicly. Adam would secure the location with a false identity. Halston's team would secure all exits. An operative would wear Nora's clothes, a wig, and a voice mimic device, to sit at the meeting spot. Meanwhile, the Real Nora would be watching from a van nearby, helping identify any attackers or familiar faces that may give the network away. It was risky. If anything went wrong, someone could die. But Nora didn't hesitate. I'm in, she said. Let's finish this. Zurich was cold. Not the snowy postcard kind, but sharp, gray, and wet with rain. The kind of weather that made you walk fast and keep your eyes low. The meeting spot was a quiet corner cafe near the train station. Not too crowded, but not empty either, perfect for surveillance. Cameras had been placed inside sugar jars, behind flower pots, and even stitched into coats worn by tourists. As the operative, Nora, sat at the corner table, sipping from a porcelain teacup, Adam and Halston's team watched from an unmarked van 3 streets away. Nora sat beside Adam, eyes fixed on the screens. "She's got my walk," Nora muttered, impressed. Adam smirked. "She was trained by Halston. I feel replaceable." "You're irreplaceable. That's why this is working." Nora rolled her eyes but couldn't help smiling. At exactly 3:07 p.m., the trap started to snap shut. A man walked into the cafe. He was tall, Middle Eastern, with expensive shoes and an umbrella. Looked like a lawyer or a diplomat. But Nora caught the subtle signal immediately. His right pinky finger tapped his thumb 3 times in quick succession as he scanned the room. "That's one," she said. "Signal check." 2 more entered within a minute, one posing as a waiter, the other pretending to take a phone call near the door. Adam's jaw tightened. 3 entry points. Coordinated. The operative at the table didn't react. She merely sipped her tea, turned a page in a fake journal, and crossed her legs. The man in the suit approached her table. "Ms. Jensen?" he asked. The operative nodded, disguising her voice. "Are you the journalist?" "Yes." "May I sit?" "Please do." Nora leaned forward toward the screen, heart pounding. The man placed a black briefcase on the table. "That's not press material," Adam muttered. "Too heavy." On screen, the operative tapped her ring on the table 3 times, a secret cue: prepare for extraction. "Something's off," Halston said through the comms. "He's not trying to talk. He's stalling." Then came the moment everything shifted. The man leaned in and whispered, "We know this is a trap." Then he smiled, slow, smug, chilling, and stood up. "Have a good day." He walked out casually. The phone call man followed. The fake waiter gave a fake nod to the real staff and disappeared into the street. Inside the van, silence fell. "What the hell just happened?" Halston barked. Adam's face went pale. "They knew." Nora's breath caught. "What does that mean? Did we fail?" Adam looked at her. And for the first time, she saw genuine fear in his eyes. "No. It means they've been watching us longer than we thought. They pulled out of Zurich immediately. No rest. No delays. Every operative was scrambled back to hidden safehouses. Nora and Adam boarded a private jet under false names, flanked by Halston's most trusted guards. But Nora couldn't shake the feeling that it was too easy. That they had been allowed to escape. "What if they wanted us to do this?" she asked as the plane climbed. Adam glanced at her. "What do you mean? What if that man, smiling like that, what if it wasn't panic? What if it was control? Like he knew what was next, and we didn't?" Adam went quiet. Then he opened his laptop, entered a secure channel, and called an old contact, a woman named Lara, once embedded inside the same trafficking network. When she appeared on screen, she was already shaking her head. "I was going to call you," she said. "They've changed tactics." "How?" "They're not hiding anymore," Lara said. "They're burning everything. Anyone who leaked. Anyone who helped. They're cutting off the limbs." Adam narrowed his eyes. "And what about us?" "You?" Lara said bitterly. "You're the heart. They're coming for you last. So you can watch everything else die first." They landed in a remote airstrip in Albania. From there, they were scheduled to board an armored convoy toward a mountainous surveillance outpost Halston had built during a previous operation. But they never made it. 20 minutes into the journey, the lead vehicle exploded. Flames. Smoke. Metal. The SUV carrying Nora and Adam was flung sideways off the road, crashing into a ditch. The impact knocked the wind out of Nora's lungs. She heard gunfire outside, sharp bursts, distant screaming. The sound of war. "Stay down!" Adam yelled, grabbing her by the arm and dragging her behind the engine block. Guards were already returning fire. One went down immediately, bullet to the chest. Another took cover behind a fallen tree. Adam handed Nora a pistol. She stared at it, stunned. "I don't. You don't need to shoot. Just point and scare. Stay close." The attackers were organized, camouflage gear, laser sights, military precision. "They're not random," Adam growled. "This is a hired unit. Someone paid top dollar." Nora covered her ears as another explosion rocked the trees. And then, just as suddenly as it started, the gunfire stopped. Silence. Then, footsteps. One by one, black hooded figures emerged from the smoke. Nora's heart pounded so loud she could barely hear Adam's voice whisper, "Get ready to run." But before they could move, someone shouted from the smoke, "Drop your weapons. You're surrounded." Halston's voice. Backup had arrived. Dozens of her agents stormed in from the hills, firing back, pinning the attackers. Within minutes, the hired unit was either fleeing or dead. One was captured. Alive. And it was someone Nora recognized. From the boutique. Back in a mobile bunker, the prisoner was tied to a chair. Nora stood across from him, heart pounding. "You," she said. "You were the boutique manager's cousin. The one who smiled when I cried." He grinned. "I always wondered who your husband really was. But you? You're just a pawn." "Not anymore," she replied coldly. Adam and Halston stood behind her. "You're going to tell us who hired your team," Adam said. The man spat. "You think they care about me? You think I'm afraid of you?" Halston walked forward, calm and precise. "No. But you're going to be afraid of what happens if you don't talk." She pulled out a small tablet, tapped a button. The screen lit up with the faces of everyone the prisoner had worked with, every name, every location, every transfer. Facial recognition. Bank records. Transaction trails. "This is everything we need to burn your entire house down," she said. "Unless you give us someone bigger. Someone real." The prisoner's eyes flickered. Fear, at last. Nora leaned in. "Who's the real boss?" The man's lips trembled. Then he whispered. "Her name is Valeria. No one knows her face. But she's the one who runs it all." Adam froze. Halston nodded. "Now we're getting somewhere." That night, Nora stood alone on the ridge above the mobile base, wind cutting through her hair. Adam approached quietly. "You did good today," he said. "I was terrified," she replied. "So was I." They stood there in silence. "What happens now?" she asked. Adam looked up at the stars. "We go after Valeria. But it won't be easy." "I don't want easy," Nora said. "I want to end this." He turned to her, his eyes soft. "Then we go together. No more secrets." Nora looked back at him. For the first time, she believed him. Valeria. The name echoed in Nora's ears like a bell tolling over a quiet city. It was delicate, almost elegant, but it hid something far darker. According to the man they captured, the cousin from the boutique, Valeria was the ghost behind the network. No photographs. No fingerprints. No official records. And yet, her power stretched across borders, businesses, and lives. "She's the one who sends the orders," the man had said. The one no one sees. But if you hear her voice, you don't forget it. Now Nora couldn't sleep. Not because she was afraid, but because everything she had been through, every humiliation, every danger, every breathless escape, was pointing to this final moment. And she had to be ready. The mobile bunker was relocated to the Swiss Alps under heavy cover. Halston's team was decrypting the prisoner's phone, while Adam contacted global intelligence agencies in secret. The CIA, MI6. Interpol. No one wanted to touch it openly. But everyone wanted something. And Nora? She wanted justice. I don't want this to be just another name whispered into silence, she told Adam as they studied a digital map. I want her to feel what she's made others feel. Adam understood. He always did. But he was worried. If we go after her, there's no guarantee we come back, he said quietly. Nora met his gaze. We never really came back from that boutique, did we? That moment, her lowest, most humiliating, had been the turning point of her life. And now, it had brought her here. A breakthrough came 3 days later. Halston's digital team found a bank account linked to several of Valeria's shell companies. Not unusual, but what stood out was a transaction for a luxury event in Marrakesh, Morocco. The guest list was encrypted. But one name stood out, V. Durant. Not Valeria's name, not exactly. But enough of a clue to spark suspicion. What kind of event is this? Nora asked. Halston showed her a document. Private gala. Tech investors. Fashion elites. Politicians. Every kind of money imaginable. Perfect camouflage, Adam said. She hides among the powerful. And if we're lucky, Halston added, she'll be there in person. Some of these people only trust face-to-face deals. Nora nodded slowly. Then I'll go. Marrakesh shimmered with desert heat and gold-painted privilege. The gala was held at a restored 17th-century palace surrounded by high walls and secret gardens. Guests arrived in black-tinted cars, escorted by personal security. Laughter echoed through the marbled courtyards. It smelled of roses, cigar smoke, and danger. Nora wore a backless silver dress and heels that pinched her toes. She looked every inch the trophy wife of some invisible billionaire. But beneath her gown, she wore a mic, a miniature camera sewn into her neckline, and a tracker in her earrings. Adam and Halston waited in a van parked just beyond the perimeter, watching every angle. Inside, Nora floated through the crowd like she belonged. Until she heard the voice. Low. Smooth. Female. Giving instructions in French to a man in a cobalt suit. Nora's spine tingled. It's her. She turned. And there she was. Not tall. Not obviously powerful. Just a woman in a sleek black gown, sipping champagne. Hair pulled back. Skin flawless. No guards. No entourage. But every time someone came near her, they seemed to stop talking. They watched her. As if even the most powerful feared her just a little. Nora moved closer. Pretended to reach for a drink beside her. The woman turned, and for the briefest second, their eyes met. Sharp. Calculating. Cold. Valeria. The woman without a face, now had one. It took seconds. Nora's camera caught the moment. In the van, Adam hit record. Halston's team scanned facial databases, ran real-time recognition, cross-checked embassy entries and black market ID photos. She's Russian by birth, Halston said. Fake French identity. Has passports from 6 countries. Name, Ekaterina Volnova, alias Valeria Durant. Former private intelligence. Went rogue 5 years ago. Nora took a breath and turned back to Valeria. Lovely party, she said. Valeria didn't flinch. Isn't it? Are you the host? Just someone who enjoys being invisible. The words were a knife. Was it a coincidence? Or a test? Nora smiled back. That's rare these days. You'd be surprised, Valeria said. People only see what they want to see. Their eyes locked again. In that instant, Valeria knew. And so did Nora. The woman leaned in and whispered, "Tell your husband, he doesn't have to keep sending women to chase me. It's getting boring." Nora's blood froze. She turned and walked away, slowly, calmly, but her heart raced. She knows. Back in the van, Nora ripped off the earpiece. She knows who I am. She knows everything. Adam was already issuing commands. Shut down the gala. Secure the exits. We can't let her leave. But it was too late. Valeria had vanished. Like smoke. Like she had never been there at all. For the next 48 hours, Nora didn't sleep. Interpol had the footage. Global agencies now had a face. The mask had dropped. But Valeria was a step ahead. One by one, the witnesses started disappearing. The boutique owner, found dead in a hotel in Spain. The man who identified Valeria's voice, poisoned in a car crash. Even the tech who helped decode her accounts went missing. Nora felt the walls closing in. She's tying loose ends, Adam said. And we're the final one. Halston sent them to a NATO safe house in the Pyrenees. It's the last place she'll look, she said. But even that didn't feel safe. Nora felt hunted. Not just watched. Targeted. Until one night, she made a choice. I want to confront her, Nora said. Not hide. Not run. I want to face her. My way. Adam looked at her, stunned. Nora, she nearly killed us in Morocco. We have no idea where she is. I do, Nora whispered. She showed him an invitation card, gold embossed, with Valeria's symbol etched in silver. The card had arrived in Nora's coat pocket.